There's a general consensus within the tech industry that the third release in a product line is when things start to get serious. Allowances are no longer afforded by critics and the general public alike, and its success or lack thereof is often an indication as to whether the product line itself will flourish or fade away.
If version 1 acts as the initial statement of intent, where strength and innovation means inevitable flaws can be overlooked, then version 2 is the revision, addressing key concerns that may have made prospective customers hesitate, while being careful not to deviate from the formula that made the predecessor enough of a success to warrant the sequel. And then we reach the third iteration, which is often make or break, and the point at which laurels cannot be sat upon. Version 3 is results of lessons learnt from its predecessors, combined with enough fresh innovation to prevent the line becoming stale. The third device is where we expect the product to hit maturity, if it is to have legs. And this is where we reach the present day, as the Gear S series has reached this particular juncture. While the Gear S was far from the first Samsung smartwatch, it was the first to bear the S moniker, indicating that Samsung had learned enough from their earlier Gear, Gear 2, Gear 2 Neo, Gear Live and Gear Fit smartwatches to finally launch a truly flagship line. The original Gear S was a Tizen-based curved smartwatch that brought together the most successful features of those previous watches while dropping those that were deemed superfluous, such as the perplexing 2-megapixel camera of the Gear 2. Shout out to 2005, my Sony Ericsson W800 iPhone, and the last time a 2-megapixel camera was acceptable. It seems that Samsung are aware that there is such a thing as feature overkill. The sequel, the Gear S2, was surprisingly a major departure in terms of design. Likely to respond to market trends, it added a beautiful circular watch face. And it's here that we reach the S3, the moment that we'd expect the Gear S line to mature. So let's take a closer look. From a design standpoint, the key difference here is the divergence of the line from the S3. Two different styles have been released in an attempt to broaden the watch's appeal. A silver classic model equipped with a leather strap that would look more at home with cuffs than a sweatband, and the version I have, the sporty Frontier model, made with a rubber strap that appeals to an active, adventure-hungry crowd. The rotating bezel returns and is a superb control method that absolutely complements the touchscreen. One of my biggest complaints about the Gear Fit 2 was that the touchscreen was fiddly to control with precision while on the move. However, the S3's bezel is wonderfully responsive, and the satisfying feedback provided as you rotate it means you'll rarely end up on the wrong screen, even midway through a run. While the S3 doesn't stray too far from the standard set by the S2, it's unsurprising to see the RAM bumped up from 512 to 768 megabytes, as well as the battery from 250 to 380 mAh. The S3 also improves the scratch resistance by adding Gorilla Glass SR2, although curiously, the larger screen is accompanied with a slightly lower pixel density display. I've been assured the difference is negligible, but it does seem like a curious decision. As with the S2, wireless charging and NFC return, while GPS is standard with both watches, rather than just a high-end version as with its predecessor. The inclusion of the GPS and NFC means that you can quite happily leave the house without your phone. If you wanted to run unencumbered, for example, you can leave your phone at home and still accurately track your route and pay for those post-workout snacks directly from your wrist. The watch also contains 4GB of inbuilt memory, so you can also listen to music directly from your watch with a pair of Bluetooth headphones. If you'd rather stream your music or play music stored on your phone, you'll also be able to fully control this from your wrist, with the bezel acting as a convenient way to skip tracks. The layout of the Gear S3 menus is incredibly intuitive, again aided by the bezel. Notifications appear and can be accessed by swiping or rotating to the left, whereas your selected menu screens are to the right, so I can start a run, check the time in the UK, take my heart rate or check my elevation. These, along with the watch faces, can easily be customized by holding your finger down on each individual screen. Buttons on the right side of the watch provide additional control. The top right is primarily used as a back button, whereas the bottom right will take you to the menu dial. The main menu, you won't be surprised to hear, is where you'll find your full list of apps. Unfortunately, this is potentially the area where the watch's Tizen-based OS works against it. The app ecosystem is incredibly limited and uninspiring. By version 3 of the Gear S line, I would expect to see a far more fleshed out app store at this point, but it just feels extremely sparse. This is the first time that going Tizen rather than Android Wear feels like a disadvantage. In the same way that Symbian and BlackBerry operating systems were brought down in a large part by their lack of apps, and Microsoft still continues this uphill battle today, it seems that Tizen is suffering by not being one of the big two. As you'd expect, the Gear S3 is also waterproof. Not only is this key for an active lifestyle, both when it comes to sweat and rain, but it can also mean it can withstand the rigours of daily life. As a daily watch, the smartphone features are superb, and checking texts or emails is simple and easy. Answering your phone from your wrist can also surprisingly be incredibly useful. I was able to answer the phone and speak to my friend through my watch. Sure, it sounded like I was on a speakerphone, so the experience for my friend wasn't stellar, but it was incredibly convenient for me. As a runner, I finally found a watch to replace my aging Garmin Forerunner, and as an avid hiker, the Gear S3 took what I loved about the Gear Fit 2 and just amplified it. It is an absolute asset, providing detailed stats and graphics during and after each run. The best part is that due to the ease of control, it feels a lot more like I can just navigate most of my stats from the watch directly, without having to dip into the godforsaken cluttered smartphone companion app that is S Health. My only other criticism of the watch is that I have been looking at this from the perspective of a thick-wristed male. And trust me, I've been called a lot worse than that. Now, while the Gear S3 does come with a smaller band for those with thinner wrists, I can't help but feel there's no way in hell my fiancée could wear this and look normal. I know boyfriend sweaters are a thing, but boyfriend watches? I'm not so sure. Overall, I've been incredibly impressed with the Gear S3. It will absolutely replace my Garmin Forerunner as my preferred watch for running, which is something that the Gear Fit 2 just couldn't do. It will also be something I wear on a daily basis, and I instinctively reach for it every morning without thinking. It simply acts as a complement to my smartphone, but is powerful enough to act as a standalone device if called upon, which is the perfect balance really. So, with the Gear S3, is this the moment that the Gear S line has matured? In all honesty, I absolutely believe so. Samsung have released a fantastic looking watch that looks great on your wrist whether you're going for a 3-mile hike or a 3-course meal. Building on the success of the previous models, including the critically acclaimed design of the S2, while increasing the battery and power, and not being afraid to cut some of the underused features, it's clear that Samsung have an absolute winner on their hands. Or should that be wrists?
Thank you so much for watching my review of the Samsung Gear S3. I hope you found it useful, informative, maybe even helped you decide whether you're going to pick one up or not. Either way, if you want to watch some of my other reviews, I have one here and I have one here. If you want to see more reviews from me in the future, because they're coming, you can click subscribe there. And then down here, there's just a blank space. So, yeah. Thanks for watching.